It's been a good time to be playing Ascension online. It is year two cup time, and so that means Immortal Heroes and Storm of Souls, one of the probably the all-time greatest actual block in Ascension history. So, of course, there were very few actual blocks. 3 of them to be exact, but this is kind of a tough choice. Shadowcaster is just a great opening card, but I could go Deathsworn Warrior, Spider Witch, or Deathsworn Warrior Nook Hound. I think I'm going to go Shadowcaster. I think just kind of the long-term payoff of that card big enough to matter. Now, if my opponent's able to get a Banisher at some point other than just the Deathsworn Warrior as well, the advantage of Shadowcaster will be minimized a little bit. But Deathsworn Warrior isn't the card that you really want to keep around and banish your whole deck with. You kind of want to get a couple of quick shots with it and then get rid of it. Okay, so he does go after the Deathsworn Warrior and an Elder Skeptic to help with some deck thinning. I've discovered in playing these two sets, you're always learning about, and the more I play it, the more I feel like getting a Lifebound card. The cards like Spider Witch are just really powerful. Maybe a little too powerful. So, especially when you're banishing. So I'm going to take it. I think it's more... I generally want to build a rune advantage, but I'm eyeing the Honey Siren. I may get it. I may not. But I'm going to want to add another Lifebound card pretty shortly to my Spider Witch. I definitely want to banish when given the opportunity, and drawing a Militia is pretty sweet. I'd like to add the Honey Siren, but at the same time, Void Avenger, again, it's just one of those cards that's really hard to pass up. So I'm going to take it. So far, other than the turn 1 decision, well, I guess the Spider Witch over a Mystic is pretty difficult. The Void Avenger, though, that decision just sort of made itself. I don't really think that there's really another option there. I mean, Honey Siren's good and all, but it's not Void Avenger. Especially when this juicy Hoarding Whelp sitting there to help build up to Ackham. That can be big game. So here, I'm actually thinking I may take the Nook Hound, or just a Mystic. I may actually take a Mystic, and part of the reason here is I just don't think that anything on the board right now is really game-breaking. I don't think he's in a big hurry after Honey Siren, although I want it, and if he does, that's fine. It's not a hugely powerful card. Nothing on the board right now is just really powerful, so I don't really want to open the board for him. I feel like I have the advantage in my deck having Shadowcaster, Void Avenger, and Spider Witch. So I think I've picked up really the 3 best cards that have been bought so far. Skeptic is fine. Deathsworn Warrior is a card he's going to want to get rid of. So I'm going to start this turn by beating... he picked up kind of a slew of cards there. A couple of some cheap Enlightened cards, but nothing really game breaking, so it's fine. I'm gonna take the Hoarding Whelp and see what pops out here. Ooh, and an Acidic. So now it's possible that I could draw into the cards to buy Cyril rather than buying Honey Siren. So I'm gonna go for that and just see what happens. Now I could not banish, and then I would have Cyril. But I may still be able to get it, and I can. So, got a little greedy there, and banished anyway. And that is just really sweet. Sometimes those fate abilities, you can't really necessarily plan for the Honey Siren's fate ability in that way. You just buy Cyril because you want Cyril, and it just so happened that it lined it up with my Spider Witch, so I get to unite my 2 Lifebound cards, and then I'll pick up like a Honey Siren to kind of help make this more consistent. Although Shadowcaster's doing a pretty good job of that in itself. And I have a feeling the Void Avenger is going to help with some, going to continue to help me with some card filtering at times too. Still early as far as the honor pool is concerned, but I feel heavily advantaged at this point in the game. Having Cyril and Spider Witch, whereas he doesn't have any life bounds, like I said earlier, alluded to, really, I think the life-bound stuff is, some of the life-bound cards are pretty overpowered. Lionheart is one that hasn't shown up yet in this game, but it is also really strong. I think I go Shadowcaster first, just kind of narrow down what is actually in my deck, and then I'll Great Omen Raven. I don't think I have any Apprentice. Oh, yeah, I've still got 3. Mostly Apprentices, I mean. So I'll just name Apprentice. And before I buy anything, take this Gromites and see what pops out. Bracer Drone is pretty sweet, but actually with Cosmic Protocol it's less good, because some of the Mechanas I'm going to be able to put directly into play. So I'm going to start with Honey Siren, and then I will take a Bracer Drone. And that really pays off. Now I get a Wolf Acolyte, and Lifebound achieved, I guess. Okay. So he's going to Prodigal the Fetter. So, knocked out my Occam. I was eyeing that card. I was building up. I had the Cyril, the Void Avenger, the Hoarding Whelp. I was banishing down to where I'm going to be able to unite the Cyril. Big monsters are going to be something I'm going to be able to get to before he can in this game, probably. He certainly has a lot of rune cards, though I wouldn't say necessarily the rune advantage, because with all the banishing I'm doing, I'm going to be able to draw unite, these 3 cards especially, that can build more runes in a turn, potentially, than he's likely to be able to do. Now, if I knew if Bracer Drone was going to be in my next couple cards or not, well, I'm going to draw some extra cards next turn, so probably I'll be able to Bracer Drone if I buy a Construct. So I'm eyeing that Umbral Edge. The first thing I'm going to do is take out the Minotaur and see what happens. So the next thing I'll do is buy the Umbral Edge and hope for something more interesting for my Druids of the Stone Circle. I mean, I could go double Banisher with the Abolisher. Otherwise, I could take the Bracer Drone and try to, but I don't really want to have like 2 Bracer Drones in my deck. Utilizing one pretty effectively is usually pretty easy. 2 not always quite as easy. I guess I will take the Abolisher. We're still early enough in the game. I'm not going to have enough even if I use my Minotaur to buy that Granger, so I'll just pass the turn. Hopefully I've done a good enough job cutting off the life bounds that it doesn't really make sense for my opponent to buy the Granger, other than just to take it from me. Either way, that's kind of a win-win situation. If he's just buying Granger to take it from me and not able to utilize it to any great effect, probably still winning that kind of